everyone, and welcome to week number 17 of Pickswise Playbook. I'm your host, Chris Rose, joined, as always, by Jared Smith and our no longer robust offensive lineman. He is the svelte Ross Tucker, who is already shaking his head at me. We're 15 seconds of the show. Why are you shaking your head at me?
I just can't believe it's week 17 already.
I know.
Crazy.
I know.
And then it's not the last season.
Yeah,
it's not the last week of the season.
Yeah.
There's another one next week. You better not say next week, joined as always in week 18, because it'll be the first week 18 ever.
Well, isn't every week the first time we're doing a week anyway on this show?
Good point.
It's true.
Good point.
Yeah.
You know what else I noticed? When I wear the white Pickswise zip up, it really brings out the white in me. It's like the sun coming over here. It's like, I don't know
what's going on. You can see you from
on.
outer space, Ross.
I know.
You're very angelic, and the shine off of that Peyton Manning dome is just perfect. All right, guys, a lot to cover. We have a few more teams that have punched their playoff ticket, a few more that could do so this very week. There is no Thursday football. We are finished with that. We do have plenty, though, coming your way on Sunday and Monday, and we will get you all set for that. But first, Jared, I know that there's a few things you want to cover. First and foremost, the COVID situation quickly. What's your take on that?
Yeah, so we talked to odds makers this week. Last week was the most hectic week that I can recall, even more volatile and hectic than the prior weeks. Every odds maker I talked to this week stressed it is okay to be patient. This show this week is actually the fewest amount of picks I will be giving out on the entire season. I only have one bet that I actually locked in. I have some things that I'm looking at. I have some things that I'm interested in betting, and we'll go over all of it. But it's okay to be patient this week. Of course, you're watching the show on a Thursday. We really won't know who's playing until Sunday morning, Saturday night. And that's probably when I'm going to be doing the bulk of my locking in. I'm willing to sacrifice a half a point or a point of value on the line in order to get that most up-to-date, latest information on the roster. I think that at this stage of the season is more valuable, at least to me.
And Chris, I would just piggyback off of Jared and say I thought that was a cool story. I have the most bets I've had on the show all year. I have 9, and I'm telling you all of them right now so that you can use them right now. And none of them are teasers. I got 9.
Wow.
8
It's not a good week for teasers.
Yeah,
it's
8
not.
against the spread, 1 total. I'm all in. I'm not going to wimp out. I don't know why you didn't just go to fakejaredlines.com and use those, Jared. It would be a lot easier than doing this whole couching thing. I think Jared just wants to finish higher than me on the list. I don't care. I'm giving the people what they want.
You got some ground to make up. I'm trying to protect the lead. Like, you've got to make
I know you are. I know exactly what you're doing.
All right, we got a lot of ground to cover, but before we do that, Jared, you are a man of the people. Inform them.
Yes, we are doing another giveaway on YouTube. Comment your number one best bet, and Pickswise is going to randomly pick a subscriber. You have to be a YouTube subscriber. The commenter whose best bet wins. One of those lucky people will be sent 100 smackaroos, 100 bones. Must be in the Pickswise YouTube comment section before 12:30 Eastern time. No cheaters. We talk about this every week. Be a good person. Be a good human. You might get selected if your bet wins, and you'll win 100 free claims.
Let's do it. Here we are, week 17. And we will start with the Sunday night game. We've got NFC North rivals going at it, the Vikings and the Packers. Now, here's the deal. We know that the Packers have already clinched the division. They can also wrap up the number 1 seed with a victory and a Dallas loss against Arizona. We will break down that game coming up a little bit later. Guys, Aaron Rodgers has just been ridiculous. I mean, you know, he's the favorite for back-to-back MVPs at this point. 16 touchdowns, no picks in his last 5 games, and that started with a 4-touchdown, no-pick performance in Week 11. That was the last loss by the Packers against Minnesota. Ross, is this one of the games that you have already punched your ticket in?
Yeah, don't love the fact that Adam Thielen's going on IR. He's done for the Vikings, not good. The Packers have activated Jair Alexander. I don't know how much he'll play, but it was the last day they had on Wednesday before they had to activate him after he came back from IR. So they had to activate him. They didn't really have a choice. We'll see how much he plays or doesn't play. I like the Vikings. I'll take the 6.5. Listen, there's a reason why they won the last 2 times these teams faced each other. The Vikings are a tough matchup for the Packers. The Packers do not defend them well. No Thielen bothers me, but KJ Osborne has been very good. Justin Jefferson is unstoppable. And here's a little secret that nobody else is talking about. The Packers aren't playing that great. The Packers aren't really playing that great right now. They're winning close games late in fortunate fashion. They don't beat the Browns, who still had a bunch of dudes on COVID without Chris's boy Baker throwing 4 interceptions, number one.
Did that happen?
Then number two.
I blocked that out of my memory chain. I already dealt with this.
Sadly, that happened
on Monday. Please,
Let me tell you though, Chris. Being with my brother-in-law and father-in-law for that game, and knowing I had teased the Packers down on this show to -1.5. So even after the Browns got the touchdown, I would still win. And then even after, if they got a field goal at the end, which they wouldn't because Baker would choke, and he did. But even if that didn't happen, Rodgers would still go down and get a field goal. I'd still win. My point is this. The Packers are not playing very well on defense right now. And they're certainly not playing well on special teams. They both want the game, obviously. Vikings need the game. I'll take the 6.5. I think it's a shootout. I think it's like 30-27, 27-24. I'll take the 6.5 all day.
Yeah, this game was really tight the last time they faced each other. Probably one of the best games. I would say one of the best games, definitely in the top 10 all season long. Really tough to beat Aaron Rodgers twice in the same year. So Ross is right. Overall, as a team, the Packers are not playing very well. Their metrics are kind of on the downswing. But Aaron Rodgers leads the NFL amongst quarterbacks in EPA per play this year. In terms of the analytics, Aaron Rodgers is the best quarterback in the NFL. Kirk Cousins is middle of the pack, but still playing better than expected. Here's the part that scares me for Minnesota. Now, I agree that it's probably too many points to lay. I think the Packers win the game. Maybe it's a decent teaser spot, get them down to a pick 'em. Minnesota is trending down with their defensive numbers, especially in the secondary. And that is not a good thing when you're facing Aaron Rodgers. So while the defense for Green Bay certainly looked a little leaky, and they let Chubb run all over the field on him on last week, and that would be a concern for me because I think the Vikings can run the ball too. In the back of the Vikings secondary, Aaron Rodgers, I think, is going to make plays. That's why the Packers will win this game. Again, not a laying spot for me with Green Bay, almost a full touchdown, but it's not a bad teaser spot, getting them from 6.5 down to basically a pick 'em.
Okay, let's move on to the Eagles and the Washington football team. Ross, we gave you, your bows and your roses and everything else that we wanted to throw your way. Congratulations on your big 7-win season.
8 now.
I know, right. The Eagles can clinch a playoff. Listen, just follow me here. Eagles clinch a playoff berth with a win, a Minnesota loss, and either a Saints loss or a Niners win. This could really happen.
It's very possible that the Eagles, who had a losing record last Tuesday, could clinch like 10 days later. I don't know how that's possible.
Crazy.
But I also say this: how weird is it that the Niners win is part of it? You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, because they're kind of theoretically, it's a tiebreaker thing, but theoretically, they could get the 6th seed instead of the Niners if the Niners lose to my boy Davis Mills. So there's a lot going on. But yes, it is pretty wild. That said, I like Washington in this game, guys. I like Washington getting the 3.5 points. Here's why. They just got several.
Hold on, Ross. Are you feeling a little punchy? Is that why?
No, why?
He doesn't get it. It's the defensive lineman.
Washington punch each other. Yes.
Was that too
good, Chris? Good.
It might have gone over.
You know what? I got to. Whenever I use that on my Dartmouth and Brown friends, they totally get it.
It must be lower brow humor. I don't know. It must be for the lower standard people that cry every night that they couldn't get into Princeton. Anyway, I love saying that. Anytime, just so you guys know, anytime I meet somebody else that went to the Ivy League school, by the way, unless they played football, like they're all smarter than me anyway. But I'll say to they'll be like, "Oh, I went to Columbia." I'll be like, "Does it still bother you?" They'll be like, What do you mean? I'm like, oh, that you didn't get into Princeton. Does it still haunt you?
Princeton was the one Ivy school that I wanted to go to when I had dreams of going to an Ivy school, and then that ended very fast.
Enough.
Jared. Hey, guess what, Jared?
Your issues later.
Hey, guess what, Jared? All I want to do is play football for Penn State. We just flipped, bro. We just flipped.
You just flipped.
Will you explain to me why you like Washington?
No, I haven't, but I will. They got several more guys back from the COVID list. Brandon Sheriff at right guard, Curl at safety, Cole Holcomb at linebacker. So they're getting reinforcements back. But more importantly, guys, they were embarrassed. I mean, that was pathetic Sunday night. And I have a faith in Ron Rivera and the leaders of that team that they will bounce back and play much, much better. Yes, I know the Eagles are playing pretty well, but they only beat them by 10 at home with Garrett Gilbert at quarterback. I just think it's going to be a close game. I think the Eagles still win the game, probably by a field goal, but there's a decent percentage chance that Washington wins as well. I don't think this is a slam dunk for the Eagles at all. I think it's going to be a field goal game either way, so I'll take the 3.5.
I do not think this will be a field goal game either way. So I'll start off with the last game that these two teams played each other. So it was Garrett Gilbert. First drive or two, definitely scripted. They were able to move the ball, get some early points, and then Philly closed the game on a 27-0 run. And I think overall in that game, if it wasn't for the two turnovers for the Eagles, that game probably would have been 34-17 or, a score a little bit more loftier. Listen, in general, I agree. This is a letdown spot for the Eagles and a bounce back spot for Washington. It does meet that criteria. But the Eagles' numbers, to me, of any team that I've been examining this week, they have been jumping off the page. Let's go over them a little bit. So the Eagles' offense over the last 3 weeks is third in EPA per play. They're 3-0 in those games. They've scored 94 points, and they've got a plus 49 scoring margin. They're playing their best football of the year. The offense is clicking at a very good time. And the Washington offense, I know they're getting Scherf back. That certainly will help, but it's trending really down. 29th in EPA per play over the last 3 weeks. They're 0-3 in that stretch with a minus 59 margin. I know the game against the Cowboys kind of skews that. And the thing that really jumped out to me, too, when Washington's defense faces mobile quarterbacks, they gave up 43 points to the Bills and Josh Allen, 31 to the Chiefs and Mahomes. I know he's not a runner like Hurts is, but he's, Mahomes is very mobile in the pocket. And then 27 to the Eagles 2 weeks ago. And I think Philly in that game against Washington, they gained 519 yards, 7.4 yards per play. They were moving it up and down the field on this Washington team. And I just think the Eagles, they are hot down the stretch. And I know it's the letdown bounce back spot. Ross is spot on about that bounce back appeal for Washington. But this is a really bad spot for them in a divisional game that the Eagles need very badly. And I just don't see Philly letting down. I'm going to trust the Eagles, and I'm going to lay that extra hook with Philly minus 3.5.
And by the way, if there aren't enough numbers bouncing around in your head right now, that Philly defense has been really good. 4 straight games of at least of giving up no more than 20 points and 300 yards. Last time they did that in 5 straight games was when they had the awesome D in 1989. So
they held Gibson down, too. He only had 26 yards. I know it was with Garrett Gilbert at quarterback, but they really held Gibson in check a few weeks ago.
All right, Texans and Niners. We saw what the Texans did to the Chargers last week, even though the Texans were depleted. The Niners coming off a very rough Thursday night loss where it looked like they were just going to pound on the Titans, and they did not. Jimmy Garoppolo, injured thumb, chip bone in there, ligament damage, might get Trey Lance. And let's keep in mind, Lance has really been put on ice. The first few weeks of the season, we saw some plays, particularly down the goal line. Had to start week 5. That was the game where the Niners scored their fewest points of the year, where they lost 17-10 to Arizona. So there's a lot of moving parts here at this point. Jared, what are you looking at?
Yeah, I mean, I talked to some Niners people this week, and I asked them, hey, maybe Lance, the practice time did him well. And the response I got from one very skeptical Niners fan was, well, if Trey was playing that well, don't you think Shanahan would have put him in maybe a little, sub package, goal line, something to give him some reps? And we haven't seen him at all. I mean, he really has been put in the freezer for the last month or so. I will say this, Davis Mills, his numbers are really good. 8th in EPA per play amongst all quarterbacks over the last 3 weeks. He's playing at a top 10 quarterback level over the last month. Good luck explaining that. The Niners defense has been playing a lot better too. 10th in EPA per play since week 10, which is basically the back half of the season. Texans run defense trending down. The Niners will run the ball in this game. They will run it well. The question is, can they score enough? And can their defense play well enough to keep this one past the number? I'm not going to lay it with San Francisco, but if I had to bet this game, it would be the Niners because I think they're just going to cram it right down San Francisco's throat. And Jimmy G's worth about a field goal on the line right now from what I'm seeing with Trey Lance. So you can grade for yourself whether or not that's a valuable or invaluable move to him.
Well, so first of all, Chris, from now on, anytime Jared says EPA, we should drink.
Yeah,
I'm trying to switch up my numbers a little bit here. I always use the same one.
I still have no idea what the Environmental Protection Agency has to do
added
with football.
Expected points
The Environmental Protection Agency here on the Pickswise Playbook. They've been mentioned 7 times already.
It's true.
Very concerned about the environment here is Jared Smith. Look, everything that guy just said is BS. Okay? The Texans are the pick here. Do you watch football? I mean, first of all, whether it's a banged up Jimmy Garoppolo or Trey Lance, who hasn't played in forever, going against who you just said is a top 10 quarterback right now in Davis Mills, and a Texans team that's playing well. They're fighting. Rex Burkhead just ran for like 130 yards. They just smashed the Chargers. So the team that smashed the Chargers is getting 13 points. Yeah,
too easy, right?
I'm taking them.
Too easy.
Hey, by the way, real quickly, do you think that Davis Mills is going to be their starter next year, Ross?
I think he's got a very good chance right now.
I do too.
These last 2 games matter, but I don't think they're going to draft one because they won't have confidence that the guy they draft is better than Davis. And I don't think they can get any of the veterans to go there. So I think they'll build up the roster around Davis Mills for next year. Next year will be a put up or shut up year for him. I think he's actually done enough to earn next year.
Me too.
100%.
Me too. I'm happy for him. Will there ever be a time in Davis Mills' career where the first thing we don't talk about is the length of his neck?
Not for you. No, clearly not for you. You've referenced that a lot.
I'm more interested in the length of his statistics and how good his EPA per play has been over the last 3 weeks.
Jared, by the way, you are the reverse of Davis Mills when it comes
You're right.
to
I have no neck. It goes right from head to shoulders. It goes right from head to shoulders. I have terrible posture, too. I'm always trying to sit up straight.
Just noticing that.
Ross really liked that joke a lot, actually.
Well, I never really thought of it until Chris said that.
I have no neck.
Is very, very observant. Very observant.
I have no neck. It doesn't.
By the way, Chris, you were on NFL Network every night. Everybody else
I watched your post-game show.
Every night I watch every game. Like everybody else quit. You're on every night.
I think people just refuse to work.
They
were like, Rose, get out there. Okay, Bucks and Jets. Bucks have already won the South. The only way for them to get the bye, which is the only thing they're playing for at this point, they need 2 wins. They need 2 losses by the Packers, and the Rams need to split their last 2. So most likely, the Bucks are either going to be the 2, 3, or 4 seed, depending on how things shake out down the stretch here. One thing to keep in mind, Antonio Brown was back last week in a big way. Of course, they lost Godwin. Evans was out. We don't know about his availability yet this week. They are 6-0 when AB plays. Just don't ask him about the rest of the stuff that goes on in his life. Okay. What do you got here, Ross?
Very, very little.
Good.
Zach Wilson.
Keep this quick.
It was fun. Yeah, it was fun to watch Zach Wilson run for a touchdown. I don't know what the Jaguars were doing on the play. It was fun to watch them throw a touchdown to an O-lineman. Shout out McDermott. They didn't have a lot of guys because of COVID, and they still won. The Jags had the worst goal-to-go series I've ever seen in football history.
Yes,
it was
an embarrassment.
I'm sorry.
I could only lean to the Bucs here, but I don't like the game.
I want to clock this now. Clock it on 3rd down.
That was disgusting.
Terrible.
I had the Jags in one of my contest picks, and I was disgusted. Yeah, I was never more upset. And as a Jets fan, I'm like, I don't want you guys to win anymore, but I know there's no tanking in the NFL. So the Jets defense is the worst unit in the league. Zach Wilson is grading out as the worst quarterback in the league. There's nothing positive to say about the Jets' analytical numbers here. The Bucs haven't really been playing that well, but I will say this. Antonio Brown, if you're going to say Chris Godwin is hurt and it's a positive, it's not. But the positive is Antonio Brown is now going to be a focal point of this offense, and that is a positive thing for the Bucs. Obviously, you'd rather have Godwin and Evans. You'd rather have all of them. But I don't think it's going to be an issue for Tom Brady because he looks like he is very much in sync with Antonio Brown. And he's made much lesser wide receivers, guys like Scotty Miller, guys worse than that. Look very good. The young running back for the Bucs looked really good too. Vaughn, that's a nice little spark for them. I think they're finding some young talent filling in for some of these veteran players, especially at that running back position. I don't know if we're going to see Le'Veon Bell in this game. Maybe we will because it's a revenge game. Who knows? But the Bucs D, I think, has been consistent enough this year to where they can control this game and cover it. I'm not betting it again, but I think you can do worse than laying, 10, 11, 12 points with the Bucs because I don't see the Jets keeping this close.
I have to introduce you to the meaning of revenge game. Le'Veon Bell ought to be sending Christmas notes to every member of the Jets organization who signed off on the contract. Please.
It's true.
That's enough. The only other interesting thing I could find on this game is that back on August 3rd, Tom Brady was exactly twice as old as the man he will face on Sunday, Zach Wilson. They both share an August 3rd birthday. Wilson turned 22, Brady turned 44.
Look at that nugget.
I like that. That's one of my favorites.
I like that.
Good. This is obviously, I think going to be my favorite game of the week to watch. It's certainly on Sunday. Chiefs and Bengals. Bengals can wrap up the AFC North with a victory. We know that the Chiefs, they can clinch the 1 seed with a win and a Titans loss. So there is a ton on the line. You have the Chiefs coming off of that thumping of the Steelers, but Joe Burrow throwing for 525 last week against a depleted Ravens secondary. And boy, you talk about like extra drip coming off of their uniform, the swag. I have no idea what Joe Burrow was still doing in the game with 5 minutes to go, running around like a nut and taking hits. Shame on you guys, because that guy is going to end up like Andrew Luck if you're not careful. I'm going to get off my soapbox now. Jared, what do you have?
Yeah, I mean, these are two of the best teams in the NFL, according to the numbers. Offenses, Kansas City second in EPA per play since week 10, Cincinnati sixth. And the defenses, too, third and eighth. So over the back half of the season, you can make a case that these are two of the best teams in the NFL, two of the most balanced teams in the NFL. But Kansas City has a weakness that I think Cincinnati might be able to expose. Kansas City's not great at stopping the run. They're 29th in run success rate since week 10. So if you're Steve Spagnuolo and you're trying to defend Joe Burrow, what do you think you're going to do? Back up? Don't let Chase and Higgins and Boyd beat you. Well, that might open things up for Joe Mixon. So I'm not going to play this game. I will be keeping copious notes because this could be a playoff rematch in a few weeks, which would be really fun. But I want to see how Joe Mixon matches up against this Chiefs run defense. That would be an interesting prop angle for me. But I think the spread's about right. Kansas City deserves to be favored, but the Bengals are a live dog, and they've played really well this year. I don't think they're going to be afraid of this moment facing the big bad Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes.
I agree with Jared. It's why I like the Bengals +5. I think the Bengals are for real. They're playing at home. The atmosphere for that game on Sunday was awesome. Again, I know that I like the Chiefs matchup still in one-on-one pass pro against the Bengals, but I just think 5's too high of a number. I'm a little surprised that Kansas City on the road is favored by 5. I think anything over a field goal, I would lean Cincinnati. Anything under a field goal, I would lean Kansas City. I think it's going to be an awesome game. I think it's going to be a field goal game. I think Kansas City probably wins a close one late, but I'll take the 5.
Kansas City's dropped 5 in a row in Cincinnati. The last time they won was 1984. Here is your trivia question of the day.
Oh, boy.
The starting quarterbacks that day in 1984 for each team were
Boomer Esiason?
It's great.
No.
Not right. He was drafted that year. I think he was the first quarterback drafted that year. It was either late second or early third. It was ridiculous.
I don't know who he replaced, but I know he was a big name, right?
Yes, he was.
Yeah, I forget his name.
Bengals, I'll go Ken Anderson.
That's it. Exactly.
Chiefs.
Now, I've got a great hint.
Go ahead.
You both should feel shame if you don't know who this is. And that's saying something, Jared, because you weren't born yet.
No, I was not. Almost 2 years away.
Think about why I said that.
1984.
It's not Montana. That was too late. Or
No.
he came later.
Too early.
Yeah,
Too early.
I mean, like Montana was later in the 90s.
No. Why would you feel shame if I'm talking about somebody that quarterbacked in the league? Because they went to
Penn State?
Todd
No.
Blackledge.
Todd
Blackledge. I say
answer.
Collins is too late. Blackledge.
Yes.
You're
I
right.
didn't even
never
know how
should
many
know.
games he even started for the Chiefs.
Right.
But bam!
That away. I think he was like the 7th pick of the 83 draft, I want to say. That
Ross
was
is undefeated against me in trivia questions this
Yeah,
year.
there were
he went ahead of a guy named Marino.
Yeah, well, so there were 6 quarterbacks drafted in 83, right?
Yeah.
You know, Elway.
Elway was the big
Blackledge, Tony Eason, Jim Kelly, Dan Marino.
Kelly's pretty good.
Huh?
Ken O'Brien.
Ken O'Brien was the other one out of UC Davis.
That was one of my favorite 30 for 30s when they did the draft. That was a really good
because
one.
the Steelers could have had him. Steelers would have like 10 Super Bowls now if they had just taken Marino in 83. From Bradshaw to Marino to Big Ben, maybe.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow.
Right. Well, Blackledge, I thought, was drafted by the Steelers, and then wasn't he traded to the Chiefs?
No.
Isn't that it? Oh, no, the other way around. Something like that. Okay, Cardinals, Cowboys, after I got an emphatic no from Ross Tucker. Cowboys, boy, have they been playing some great football. They have won 4 in a row, winning on a margin by 18 points per game, and they're going against a team in the Cardinals where, like, a month ago, we were like, oh, boy, they're going to have a real shot at that 1 seed. You look at their schedule down the – nope. They're in the playoffs, but it doesn't feel like they're going to come back and win that division, and they're going to be on the road, which is fine with them because it looks like they play better on the road. But, man, oh, man, what do we see here, Ross?
I think that would be a good stat for you to get, Chris. The last time a team clinched a playoff berth after their 3rd consecutive loss.
Great one.
That feels like it's hard to do.
Yeah, that might be a first time.
That would be a good
there.
stat that you could try to have one of your stat lackeys get for you. I don't have a very strong opinion on this. I'd probably go Dallas just because they look like they're rolling, especially on defense.
Mm-hmm.
And they got the offense going Sunday night, and Arizona's in a bad place. And I think people realize that they're not good against the blitz. And look out, Kyler, because they're coming. Lots of studs are coming. DeMarcus Lawrence, Gregory, Micah Parsons. I probably would lay it with the Cowboys, but this is a stay away for me. Too many points.
Big move here because the Cardinals actually were favored in a look ahead from like a month ago. No surprise. Last week was 2.5. Arizona lays an egg again, and I didn't think they played well on Saturday night at all. Too many turnovers, too many mistakes, penalties, missed field goals. And then the Cowboys do what they do on Sunday night and just blow the doors off of Washington. Now this line's blown through a key number all the way up to 5. I can make a case over the back half of the season, analytically, the Cowboys have the best defense in the NFL. Mm-hmm. I mean, and nobody would have guessed that. Dan Quinn's done an unbelievable job, backwards hat and all. Incredible stuff with the Cowboys defense. Granted, he's got some of the best players in the league. That certainly helps, but he's certainly putting them in the right place. And the Cardinals are trending in the opposite direction. Weeks 1 through 9, they led the NFL on offense in EPA per play. Now they're 18th on the back half of the year. Same thing on defense. They were 2nd in the NFL the first half, back half 16th. They have regressed significantly. Why? Well, on offense, they've been without James Conner, DeAndre Hopkins, and Rondale Moore. That's important. On defense, J.J. Watt and Marcus Golden, and then Isaiah Simmons, who was supposed to be a stud draft pick, he's not grading out well. He's grading out as one of the worst kind of linebacker switch safeties at his position in the league. So the players that are on the field aren't playing up to their standards, and they're missing a lot of key guys. And I don't know if Arizona can turn it around. It's like trying to catch a falling knife in the stock market. I'm not willing to buy yet. I think there will come a point where we can buy Arizona, but it's tough against Dallas this week because that defense is humming and the offense for Arizona just can't seem to get out of their own way. So this is either Dallas or pass for me.
Dallas Cowboys, they're doing it on both sides of the ball. You guys both mentioned that. The last time they led the league in scoring, in total offense, and in turnovers forced was 1971 when they went on to win Super Bowl VI. Over the Miami Dolphins.
Can they win? Like, Ross, if you had to pick one team today to win the Super Bowl and you can't pick the top 2 or 3, like the Bucs or the Chiefs or one of those teams, I would take the Cowboys right now. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, if you can't take the top 2 or 3.
Yeah, like the top of the market. Like
if I can't take the Packers, can't take the Packers, Bucs,
can't take the Packers or Chiefs.
I'm taking the Cowboys.
But why would you necessarily even take those teams over the Dallas Cowboys the way the Cowboys are playing? I mean, I don't think
Cowboys.
So what? What does that matter? This particular team is pretty darn good, man.
This is the best defense they've had in this little stretch.
I am a believer that you kind of have to walk before you run in the playoffs, which is why I'm not big on the Rams or the Cowboys.
It's fair.
I think they'll win a playoff game or 2. I don't think they'll beat the Packers at Lambeau or Brady.
That'll be a fun game, actually.
I think they might do one of those 2, but not both.
The
We've already
Packers'
seen the
playoff
Rams
record at Lambeau is not nearly as good as you think it is.
No. Was the last playoff? It was Des Bryant, right? The last playoff game at Lambeau. Yeah.
Well, no, that wasn't the last one, but that was a playoff game that Dallas arguably should have taken down.
Definitely.
All right, let's move on. Dolphins and Titans. Titans will clinch the South either with a win or an Indy loss. It would be the franchise's first back-to-back division title since the Oilers won 3 in a row from 1960 through 62 in the old AFL.
Wow.
Meantime, Miami has won 7 straight. They are currently the 7th seed, and they're trying to become the first team to ever start 1-7 and make the postseason. I know that's a lot of 7s, but that's just the way I read it. Okay, Ross, who do you like?
I like the Dolphins. I'm not feeling great that I took them at +3, and I'm now seeing that it's up to +3.5. Could really use that hook, and I'm surprised. So I will allow Jared first to tell me why he thinks the line moved up half a point.
Maybe it's because of how well Miami played on Monday, perhaps. But they didn't play overly.
No, but then it would go the other way.
But then went the other way. You're right. I apologize. I really don't have an explanation for that one because the look ahead was the look ahead was 3.5. So the look ahead was 3.5, and then it opened 3 maybe because Miami played well and it, kind of contracted a half a point. But then the early money was on Tennessee. That would be the explanation I would give.
Yeah, so at any rate, I think it's a toss-up game. I don't think the Titans are really that good. They got a good win thanks to Jimmy G last Thursday, but I'm not a big believer in the Titans right now. I think these are honestly both average teams. I think they're comparable. I think it's a field goal game. I will take a field goal in a field goal game either way.
It sounds like the left side of the Titans line is coming back this week. Both
maybe that's why.
And Lawan. So that I thought maybe you would get more of a smile out of that one since you're kind of.
No, it helps. Helps for sure.
Okay.
But I don't know that they're going to be running the ball down the Dolphins' throat anyway.
Yeah,
okay.
Bud Dupree also, that could be a guy that they get back this week. Westbrook Akine, these are all guys that were on the COVID list earlier in the week. But because we haven't mentioned this yet, but because of the CDC guidelines that say 5 days now, reduced from 10, that these guys can quarantine and come back. A guy like Carson Wentz, who we'll talk about in a little bit too, like we might see some guys come back off of the COVID list that maybe were there. So again, we talked about this at the top of the show. We don't want to beat a dead horse. The player moves and the roster uncertainty in the NFL is everything right now. It matters more to me than getting an early jump on the line. And I think there will be lines that swing violently on Saturday night and Sunday morning based off this. So, have your Twitter notifications on, follow all your beat reporters, and just stay up to date as much as you can. That being said, the Dolphins have been playing great ball. 7-0 straight up, 6-1 against the number during this stretch. During that span, Tua is the 5th best QB in the league, according to the analytics. Their defense is the number 1 defense in the league over that stretch. And their offense is where we expect it to be, middle of the road, 17th. Nothing to write home about, but it's not going to prevent them from winning games. Whereas in prior years, or last year maybe, we thought Tua would be the Dolphins can't win a big game because of Tua. He can't really stretch the field. He's made some plays this year. Jalen Waddle looks tremendous. He did whatever he wanted on Monday night. That's the guy you got to get the ball to in these big spots. The Titans' offense is trending down. Over the last few weeks, we've seen their offensive efficiency dip. We've seen their defense stay relatively consistent. The defensive line has been fantastic. But overall, for me, Vrabel is a favorite, is why I would favor the Dolphins here. Since 2018, when he took over, he's 15-19 against the number when he's a favorite of 3 points or more. And he's 22-10 straight up. What does that tell me? They win the games, but they win them close. So I wouldn't lay it, especially over a field goal now. With the Titans at 3.5, I would probably take the points with Miami. But I want to see who's playing Sunday morning, so this is a wait and see. But I'll probably be tailing Ross's play here, Miami plus 3.5, hopefully Sunday morning.
All right, let's move out to the AFC West. Broncos and Chargers, a pair of teams that are both on the outside looking in. In fact, the Chargers are the 9 seed, one of 4 teams at 8-7. So they're still very much in play here. God, I don't know how they shake loose from that horrible Texans defeat in Houston last week. Broncos, it sounds like it's going to be Drew Lock again. So maybe that's the good news for the Chargers. And if that is in fact the play, does that affect your thinking at all, Jared?
No. I mean, Lock to Bridgewater wasn't a big move on the point spread anyways. And I I mean, you would think that, he wants to show people that he can play quarterback in this league. It's kind of an off season for him that'll probably define the next chapter of his career. And he gets an opportunity to go on the road and face a team that, hasn't really played very well defensively this year. And their run defense is even worse. And what's the best quarterback's best friend is a running game. So maybe the Broncos can get the running game going here against the Chargers. Since week 10, in the last 4 weeks, Chargers have allowed 118 points. Listen, isn't Staley supposed to be a defensive guru? They've got to button things up defensively really fast. Their EPA numbers are slipping violently. The Broncos offense hasn't been great. With Drew Lock, they've been, slightly worse than Bridgewater. But again, it hasn't been a big move from Lock to Bridgewater, so I don't really, make my determination off that. This game will be determined by how well the Chargers, can improve defensively. If we see improvement from last week, they should win this game. Probably don't cover, but they should win this game. But just because of the inconsistencies on both sides, Chargers defense, Broncos offense, I'm not playing this game.
No play for me. I can only lean Denver getting the points. Chargers are getting guys back off the COVID list. Not a Drew Lock fan, but also not going to lay 6, 5.5, whatever it is with this Chargers team.
Okay, Falcons and Bills. Bills can clinch a playoff berth with a win and either a Baltimore loss or losses by the Chargers and the Raiders. I hope you're writing all this down, or at least you can find it somewhere on the internet, which is fine. Buffalo third in the league in scoring. We saw what they did last week. Josh Allen, probably since the start of the second half in that Tampa game, has been playing out of his gourd lately. That's not a word you hear very often.
No.
Out of his gourd.
I like that one.
I love it. I use it all the time, actually.
Do you really?
Yeah. It's a John Gruden NFL Films clip.
Oh, yeah. It is.
Oh, yeah.
Are you out of your skull? Are you out of your gore? Something like that. Anyway.
Got it.
Crazy,
My
man.
bad.
Crazy.
Okay, I'd like to re-tee with a mulligan on that one. In any case, what do we see, Ross?
I like the Falcons. I got them when they were getting 14.5 points. As we're recording this now, it's down to 14. Half a point of closing line value right there. Little CLV, Jared. You like that?
Yeah, EPA, CLV, net
half
yards
point,
per play,
giving you the hook over 2 touchdowns. Look, the Bills are coming off of one of their biggest wins in a long time. They needed Josh Allen to be a Superman to do it. The Falcons are a 7-8 football team. They are a consistent, solid football team, and they didn't even get very much from Cordero Patterson last week.
No.
I think the Bills win. The Bills probably win by 10, but I'll take the Falcons and the points. Matty Ice can get me the backdoor cover late if I need it. That's a lot of points. And the Bills coming off that emotional win, I just don't think they'll be at the same fevered pitch. Give me the Falcons and all those points.
You know how I know Ross is sharp? Because he bets on one team the prior week and then pivots and goes against them the following week. That's the true nature of a sharp. A lot of teams, a lot of recreational bettors, they just bet on the same teams every week. No, not Ross Tucker. He goes Bills last week. Great call it was a family play. We all liked the Bills last week, and they came through for us. Josh Allen made some throws in that game. I tweeted out one of the all-22 cut-ups of him. I mean, some of the throws were just unbelievable throws. The vision, the ability to see things on the run, moving, putting him in good spots. And it's not easy to beat that Pats defense. Much easier time this week against the Bills defense. But Ross is right. There is a letdown angle here. I'll give you guys a trivia question. So the Bills are one of 2 teams in the NFL this year, top 5 in efficiency on both offense and defense. You guys know the other team?
Bills, top 5 offense and defense?
There's one other team that's top 5 in both categories other than
efficiency?
The Bills. Efficiency.
I would say Chiefs or Colts. No. Chiefs or Cowboys?
Wrong. The Bucks. Surprisingly.
Yeah, Bucks.
Yeah.
That was bad.
EPA per play on offense and defense. They're top 5 in both. And Buffalo has cheers. Buffalo has been fantastic on both ends of the ball. But I think this line is about right. I think the Bills will probably slip late. I can see them getting off to a hot start and then just kind of cruising. But this game matters. They need to win out to win the AFC East. So I don't know if it's like a classic letdown spot. It's tough to call games this late in the year when the division title's on the line, a letdown spot.
They're not losing this.
Yeah, I don't think they're losing this game. So then you have to ask yourself, is the back door going to be open for Matt Ryan? Sure, why not? But Arthur Smith's offense has kind of been tailing off efficiency-wise.
It has not been good. It's been very sloppy.
Yeah, and so that's what I noticed when I was looking at my numbers this week. They've dropped a few points in the efficiency rankings if you track their first half of the year numbers compared to the second half. And in a first-year head coach, you want that number to increase throughout the year. I haven't seen that with the Falcons. That's why it's a stay away. But if I actually were to pick it, if you get it under 2 touchdowns, I would probably lean Buffalo.
One other thing that we haven't talked about with Buffalo on January 2nd, the weather. I just checked it. So Rose's 5-day forecast is coming up right on the 7th. I'll do traffic in a bit too. Snow on that day, high of 36, low of 16. Could be a little ugly. Bills, we know they don't run the ball effectively with their running backs. Josh Allen could have like 1 million total yards in this game.
Josh Allen can throw it through a blizzard, though.
I know he can throw it through, but he also might run for like 600 yards, which I think might be a record or something if that happens. Rams, Ravens. Rams clinched the West with a win and then a Cardinals loss at Dallas. We saw what Joe Burrow did to a depleted Ravens secondary, which even got more banged up this past week. So who knows what Matthew Stafford is going to do. I know he threw 3 picks last week, but he is second in the NFL behind Tom Brady with 36 TD tosses. Lamar back out at practice this week. Don't know if you guys saw the video, but he's limping around like he's an old man using a walker. So it wouldn't shock me if Tyler Huntley is activated and ends up starting, and he has played reasonably well. Ross, what say you?
Yeah, I could only lean Ravens here because Lamar Jackson's back out there at practice and because they would get Huntley back, but their defense got shredded. They got embarrassed. Right. I would like to think they'd bounce back. They don't have anyone else to bounce back. They don't have any other guys to come back and help them bounce back. But I'm never going to lay 3.5. So it would be Ravens or nobody.
This kind of feels like a fishy line to me. The Rams, after what we just saw with Cincy, you would think that the Rams offense with Matthew Stafford would be able to do similar things. I mean, I know Burrow's probably had a flashier year, but let's be honest, Matthew Stafford's numbers have been good this year. He has shown that he has the capability to push the ball down the field. He's got tremendous weapons. But when I look at the Rams defense, I haven't seen an improvement over the last 5-6 weeks since they've gotten Von Miller, which that concerns me a little bit. You would think a team with Von Miller and Aaron Donald would go up in efficiency rating during that stretch. And we have enough of a sample size now. It's been about 6 weeks where I'd like to see more improvement with the Rams defense, and we haven't. And that's been kind of the bugaboo for them all year, even last week. And I know Stafford threw 3 picks, so they didn't give their defense a lot of favor. They didn't do any favors last week. But I thought the Rams defense still, gave up some yards, especially on the ground. What do the Ravens like to do? If it is Lamar Jackson, he's going to be a dynamic threat on the outside again. But we'll see how healthy he is. That's the key in this game. I am not touching this game with a 1,000,000-foot pole until I know who is playing quarterback. I have massive anxiety from what happened with my Ravens teasers last week with the Huntley, the Josh Johnson thing. That was my whole impetus for just being uber conservative this week. I had 3 units of teasers, round robins all over the place tied to the Ravens on Thursday. And then on Friday, the whole thing got blown up because we didn't know who was playing quarterback. Maybe it didn't matter anyways because the Bengals offense was rolling in that game. But I need to see Matthew Stafford chew up this Ravens secondary. And the line's telling me he's not going to, because the total's in the mid-40s and the spread didn't move a whole lot based off of what happened to Baltimore's secondary last week. And the total's moved up about a point, so that is encouraging. But this kind of feels like Baltimore might be fighting for their lives, and, Harbaugh kind of schemes out the Rams offense, and maybe Baltimore keeps this close. But I got to know who's playing quarterback for the Ravens before I even consider betting this game.
Ross, real quickly, last week the Rams had an early game in Minnesota. Then they go home. Then they travel to Baltimore. They have an early game. I think it got moved up, if I'm not mistaken. Does that have any effect on them?
I don't think so.
Okay.
No.
I had
very little, if at all.
I had somebody ask me about it. That's why I wanted to ask you.
I really don't. I think that's overrated.
Okay. I'll tell them. I'll tell the person that brought that up to me that you're an idiot. Lions and Seahawks. Seattle. First double-digit losing season since the Jim Mora era. So you don't know diddly poo. Actually, that wasn't him. That was his old man that said that. The younger Jim Mora.
Playoffs, right?
Yeah,
wow,
Jared Goff is expected back.
Actually, Jared, that was good.
Jared Goff is expected back, and he does have a 5-4 record against Russell Wilson from all their time together in the NFC West. I don't know if that means anything. I'm going to give us about 90 seconds on this one. Ross, you can take first dibs.
Yeah, I like the Lions. They're getting Jared Goff back. They were competitive last week against Atlanta without him. Who are the Seahawks to be laying 7 points against anybody? The Lions are competitive. The Seahawks know their season's over. Lots of change. Give me the Lions getting the 7.
Lions have been great against the spread this year. DeAndre Swift should be back from that shoulder injury. And Russell Wilson, regression, 26th in EPA per play amongst quarterbacks last week. He was one of the worst quarterbacks in the league last week. And since week 10, he's a bottom 10 quarterback in the NFL. I mean, I don't know what's going on with Russell Wilson. We've discussed it on this show. Something's up with him. The Lions, they're 10-5 against the number. That's the second best winning percentage against the spread this year. Excuse me, third best behind Dallas and Green Bay. I mean, you're talking about the Green Bay Packers, playoffs, division champs, Dallas Cowboys, playoffs, division champs, maybe Super Bowl runs, and then the Detroit Lions, 10-5 against the spread right there. Like, I mean, it's truly remarkable how good they have been against the number this year. So it is impossible to lay 7 points with a Russell Wilson regression, Seahawks defense regression, bottom third again in defensive efficiency this year. This is lines or pass, and I'll be honest, this might be a money line play too. This might be a little money line sprinkle on Detroit because they have been as feisty as any losing team I've ever seen. And right, Ross? Of all the bad teams in the NFL, the Lions are the best bad team maybe in the history of belief.
And best watch.
Dan Campbell.
There you go. Biting kneecaps.
I would make it mandatory at least one every other year that Seattle has to play a snow game at home. It just looks different. It looks like somebody ordered it on Madden. You know how you can order all the,
a little dusting.
It's so weird looking. You're like, that's cool.
I love snow games. I don't know what it is about it. It just looks awesome.
It does. It does. Raiders and Colts. Colts clinch a playoff berth with a win. They can become the 5th team in the last 30 years to make the playoffs after an 0-3 start. We talked a little bit about Carson Wentz. So he was put on the COVID list earlier this week, but because of the new guidelines in the NFL, he could be activated. And if not, it's going to be Sam Ehlinger, the kid out of the University of Texas. Last time he actually played any meaningful snaps was in the Alamo Bowl against Colorado in 2020. So I knew that would bring a little smile to my college guy's face there, Ross.
You know what really brings me a smile? The fact that the CDC is clearly a Colts fan. Because as soon as the Wentz news came out on Tuesday, he's unvaccinated. He was out 10 days.
Right.
All of a sudden, the chairman or whatever the title is from the CDC is like, you know what? I'm thinking more 5 days, whether you're vaccinated or not. Like, you can't tell me that the CDC leader doesn't have season tickets to the Indianapolis Colts and wants to make sure Carson Wentz can play in this game. That's my theory. I'm sticking to it. If you're watching this, don't take me seriously at all. I'm totally joking. This is not where you should come for that kind of advice or anything anyway. I'm joking, obviously. As for the game, though, I probably would still lean to the Raiders getting the 6.5 because you won't be able to practice all week. And I kind of like the way the Raiders are playing.
The Raiders are playing great. And if it is Ehlinger, I'll be honest, that would be a buy low spot for me on the Colts under a field goal. That's how I would look to this because the Colts offense can get by with maybe me or Ross playing quarterback. Just hand it to Jonathan Taylor a bunch of times, right? But I think in general, Ehlinger will be serviceable enough to where if this line does just steam violently, if we do get bad news on Carson Wentz come Sunday morning, where there would be some value on the Colts. That being said, at 6.5, I would definitely consider the Raiders here. And I was looking at the defensive numbers for Las Vegas. Their run success rate this year is 4th in the league since week 10. They are stopping the run. And if that's going to be the key to victory for Indy, maybe this is a good matchup for Vegas. So I would say at 7, I'd consider Vegas. If this line moves down to 2.5 because Carson Wentz is out, that's when I would consider the Colts.
So this is in my opinion, and I'm just going to give my 30-second spiel on this. This is where you really have to pay attention to who's in and who's out on the Colts offensive line, because you're going to – Wentz is either going to play or he's not going to play. They activated their 2 guards, including Quentin Nelson. We don't know the availability of Ryan Kelly, their Pro Bowl center. Eric Fisher went down last week. Their right tackle, Braden Smith, he just went on the list. So we don't know about his availability. And you just talked about, Jared, the Raiders' propensity to stop the run. You know, Jonathan Taylor got 100 yards, but he got like half of them on one run last week against Arizona.
Arizona was ready for that. And I think I heard some volume issues with Taylor as well. They want to decrease his volume a little bit over the next few weeks because they want him fresh for the playoffs. So this might be a really bad matchup.
They want to decrease it when they know they're in the playoffs. They're not in the playoffs yet.
They're not. You're right.
They need to win.
It's a weird spot. It's a precarious spot because you're not going to win a playoff game without Jonathan Taylor 100%. But do you rob Peter to save Paul? You know, it's kind of a tough spot for the Colts.
Really, I'll tell you when it's really hard to win a playoff game, when you're not in the playoffs.
It's true. So, it is very true. I think the Colts are going to make the playoffs, right? Don't they face the Jags next week?
Yeah, they do. They face yes.
They're going to make the playoffs.
When they do all the tabulations, they're like, it's
like 90%. Yeah.
But still.
You're right. No, it's a precarious spot. But you know what, though? That's why Frank Reich's a hell of a coach. And he's been a great coach throughout his whole career.
Yeah, he's been really
and
good.
The Sharps love him. And I'm sure he'll figure out a game plan this week to, beat around the bush with Jonathan Taylor.
All right, Monday night game. Browns-Steelers. Now, this is a really, really weird game because the best shot for either of these teams to make the playoffs is as a champion of the AFC North. But both, it's still very plausible.
It's crazy.
The thing is that Kansas City has got to beat Cincinnati for either of these teams to give a shit. Pardon my language, but it's true when it comes to Monday night. Pittsburgh wins the division with a pair of wins and 2 Cincinnati losses. Cleveland needs 2 wins, 2 Cincinnati losses, and 1 Ravens loss. The caveat there is that Cleveland hosts Cincinnati in Week 18. So it actually could be easier for the Browns to have this done than it's crazy. I guess my question is, Ross, first of all, you're nuts if you touch this game before Monday because it might not mean anything to either team for the most part.
Wrong.
Why am I wrong?
This is Ben Roethlisberger's last home game for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Stop. Don't even tell me that.
Hit the record button on that one.
It's his last home game. This line is stupid. That place is going to be going bonkers. It's Big Ben's last stand, okay? The Cleveland Browns are not waltzing into Heinz Field and beating the Pittsburgh Steelers in Big Ben's First of all, the Steelers never lose a primetime game. They definitely never lose a home primetime game. They definitely super duper never lose a hometown primetime game to the Browns in Big Ben's last game. They've never lost Big Ben's last game at home ever. They've never done that. Never happened.
But they've never won one either.
Irrelevant. 3.5 points. If this game was a pick'em, I'd be like, probably go Cleveland, but it's close. 3.5 points? Are you kidding me? Steelers, easily Steelers. Thank you.
This game was a pick'em last week, and then it actually was Pittsburgh favored by a point. And then it flipped after, it's man.
Why did it flip?
Why did it flip? Well, Pittsburgh hasn't really been playing very well. They got their butts whipped in Kansas City. We all know about that. Cleveland, it's not like Cleveland was playing great, but they played well. I mean, they've lost. How about this? Talk about weird stats. They've lost either won or lost 3 straight games by 2 points. And 2 is historically not a landing number in the NFL. They won by 2 over the Ravens, lost by 2 to the Raiders, lost by 2 to the Packers. So the Browns are kind of hanging around the even mark. And even if they do win this game, I don't see them winning it by more than 2 points, right? That should be the ceiling for that's the ceiling for the Browns right now. I would definitely take 3.5 with Pittsburgh. But again, I agree with Chris. I think First of all, the Monday night games, it's always fascinating to see what moves happen overnight Sunday morning to Monday. I don't think this is going to be a high volume game anyways, but sometimes if the books get hammered with public money and the public does well on Sunday, they will then shade the line a little bit on Monday night to try to entice the public to be on the wrong side. So I like to kind of see where the dust settles anyway Sunday night. But when we look at the X's and O's of this game, the Steelers defense has been absolutely dreadful. And the Browns running game, in my eyes, has a chance to be successful. But on the other side, I don't know if this Browns defense is healthy. Myles Garrett and Jackson, they a little hitching the giddy up, and we all know Tack McKinley's out, Jadeveon Clowney. So I'm worried that both defenses might actually be really in bad shape. This might be one of those weird games where both teams score a ton of points. The total's really low, and it's a Monday night game when, again, if there is something to play for, I could definitely see the crazy plays, trick, fluke stuff, Big Ben throwing throwback passes and Claypool doing this. I don't know. This feels like a game where I'll wait until Monday morning to see where I'm at, but I couldn't envision laying it more than 3 points with Cleveland. That just seems like a bad bet.
Okay. Sorry, I just needed that Brown sigh. I just needed to get that out.
Well, we're both against the Browns, so that means they're going to win, right?
We'll see. Of course, it's probably going to be nothing. Bengals will put up like 48 on the Chiefs, and
I think the Chiefs are going to win.
Saying, "Oh my God, now I just want the Browns to lose so they get a fourth place schedule next year."
The Chiefs want that 1 seed. They're going to be fired up for that game on Sunday.
Yeah, they are. It means a lot to them. There's no question. All right, you know what time it is?
Teaser time. Except I don't have any. Jared,
not a great week for teasers.
Terrible week for teasers.
Terrible week for teasers.
For teasers,
you
want between 1.5 to 2.5.
Yeah. There's no good teasers available.
Or
I'll
7.5, 8.5. There are none.
I'll throw out a few okay ones. The Packers is okay. You get them down to a pick 'em. I think that's probably my number one teaser spot. The Dolphins also relatively okay because you get it up to almost 10. And I just don't see the Titans offense blowing anybody out right now. And I think the Dolphins defense is playing well enough to keep that close. So if I had to tease a game this week, it would be Packers, Dolphins, but officially no teasers this week for me.
And nothing from you, Ross.
No teasers.
You are silent in Teaserville.
The EPA on teasers is 0.
Cheers. I'll bring a new stat for you guys next week. I'll find another analytical number. How about CPOE? You like that? Completion percentage above expectation? Are you a fan of that one?
Repeat that.
It's CPA.
CPOE, completion percentage above expectation.
Why
It's a quarterback grading
tool?
tool. Completion percentage above expectation. Because I don't know. It's CPOE. That's what it's. I know. Above has an O in it too.
With an O now, and I've been
but it has an O in it. It's completion percentage over expectation.
Ross,
why don't we just do that then?
Yeah.
Why don't we just say that?
Ross, they started this with the CFL, so it was Canadian. It was Obove.
It was. I said it wrong, but you could use either term. But the official abbreviation is over expectation. But you could say above. Those are synonyms.
All right, boys. This was fun.
Right,
as
Ivy League
always.
guy.
Enjoy your games on Sunday and Monday. No Thursday, no Saturday this week. I mean, there will be those days, but there just won't be football on them. Not NFL, at least. And in the meantime, a happy, healthy New Year to you both. Okay.
Likewise
To the Rose family, the Rose clan, and the Tucker
by the way,
clan.
Does the Tucker family? Do you all go nuts and smash beer cans on your head? And what do you do?
Fly through tables?
I mean, I would, but I'm going to be with my in-laws, so I'll have to go outside to do that.
I'd love to see the in-laws. What's the last name on the in-laws?
Kuppenhaver.
No, it's not. Come on.
Yeah.
Really?
Kuppenhaver.
I bet your wife is glad to be. Her last name's Tucker now, right?
Yeah.
No, she has a lot of pride. And it's a long story.
That's fair. Fair enough. Happy holidays to the Kuppenhavers as well.
Yeah. If they're watching, if they're consuming the product, they're just pissed that Ross didn't give them any teasers this week. Damn that kid. He's out of the family. All right. Jared, what do you have? Anything?
No, just be smart this week. Sunday morning, the lines are going to move a lot. Sometimes the best play is no play, wait, and then boom, dive in right when you get the best number.
Awesome. All right, guys. Happy New Year. We will get you all set for week 18. I cannot believe it. We'll see you then. In the meantime, stay healthy, be happy, and most importantly, guys,
Go win some
Win some dough.